Hello, people. I don't know if they're actually people, but we'll see. In honor of Evie, I'll put this background on.
Yes.
Jared's here. Hello, Jared.
How
Hey,
are you, man?
Jared.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. Got my celebratory beer here.
Excellent. Can't
Today
be a
is,
pub without beer.
Yeah, today is 1 year on BookTube for me.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So I figured I'll celebrate here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cheers. I've got a nice Portuguese wine.
I have Diet Dr. Pepper. That's all I got. So.
Close enough. If you put it in a fancy glass, no one would ever know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So how you guys been? How's your weekend?
Very uneventful.
Which is not bad.
There you go. I told you. As soon as I start talking, she's gonna be like,
"I'm out." Talking and moving. Yeah. How dare you?
I know. Listen, it's her world, and I'm only living in it.
Indeed.
Too bad she doesn't pay rent. But yeah, no, it's been a uneventful weekend, which is great. Like that's my ideal weekend is uneventful and relaxing. So,
It's Jerome.
Hi, Jerome. Hi, Caro.
Hi, Caroline.
Rogue. I don't think Rogue is Mr. Sunday Pub yet. Hey, Bex. Bex is also regular. Yeah, this is a Scandinavian name. Is that Asa? You have to tell me if I'm getting it right. Asa? Or yeah, Johannesson is easy, but the Asa, I think it's Asa. Joe Byrne in the house. Hey, man. Good to see you.
Joe, what's up?
And Heidi, Josh just said Song for Arbonne, maybe his favorite book of 2023. Okay. I have not read Song for Arbonne. I've read the things that GGK fans say are not his best. Like Tigana and Fiannavar Tapestry.
But did you like them? That's the question.
I to be honest, Tigana left almost no impression on me at all. And Fiannavar Tapestry, I remember being good. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Well, at least it's, not, you didn't like them. So
no.
Hopefully the other books that are supposed to be the good ones
are even better.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Hi, Brian. Hey, Francois.
My next GGK is going to be Sailing to Serantium, which I will be starting 2 books from now, I think, probably.
I think it's Jake. Jake is the crazy GGK man.
Yeah. Jake is to GGK what I am to Simon Jimenez.
There you go. So. And he did a video a while ago, which I think was kind of getting started with GGK, or it was sort of a survey of all of his books kind of thing. And what I took out of that was Sailing to Serantium is where I'm going to start when I go beyond what I've already read.
I read. I've yet to do GGK yet. I'm still. I definitely want to get into that.
Yeah, my first and only GGK so far has been A Brightness Long Ago, and I really if it had been any other year, probably this year has been so good in terms of quality of reading. I finished Realm of the Elderlings. I read the entirety of Dandelion Dynasty. I read a crap ton of KJ Parker. I got introduced to GGK. Oh God, who else? There's just been it's just been hit after hit. Black Company. I've read a crap ton of Black Company.
I'm so happy to hear you being a fan of Black Company now.
By the way, I finished I read Shadow Games before I read Silver Spike. Apparently I'm not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that.
Publication order, god damn it. Sorry, damn it. And I loved it. I loved it so much. Every single Black Company book has been 5 stars. It's so good.
I binged them 10 years ago. I binged all the Black Company books except the last one. Because I binged them, I just got to a point where I was like, it's all so fucking bleak. I can't take it anymore. It's just too much. I have PTSD from Black Company. and I just like I didn't make it all the way. But yes, Danya, it is a Evie themed Sunday pub because she was the first one here, and I had a background still from the Lord of the Rings chat I did yesterday, and wanted to change it, and I saw Spear background, which is just looking at my shelf now. I just reorganized my shelf so I could face out more books, and of course, Spear is
That's one of them. Yeah.
faced, and it's probably it's certainly in my top 5 covers that I have on my shelf. Yeah, I mean, some of them are like emotional reasons, like Stormbringer is a very personal cover for me. The Michael Whelan green, Elric holding up the black sword, and some of the Folio Societies have really, really hot, gorgeous covers.
This French cover makes it look like a generic fantasy.
It sure does.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that looks boring as fuck. Damn. Okay. Yeah,
But it's a spear in water, so
it's a spear in water. It's like super on the nose. Thank you, French people. Rogue says Tagana's his least favorite, which is what a lot of people say, actually. I was actually, it's funny, after the Lord of the Rings chat that I had yesterday with
Which was great.
with Philip, and thank you.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it. I mean, I basically was just like, with these 3 guys, I can just like throw a question in every now and then, and they can say shit, and it's going to be great, you know.
Oh yeah.
But AP and I stayed on quite a long time, like an hour and a half after we went offline, and we're talking, and we he was saying, or we were saying, because I agree, that GGK is a bit of a pussy. Like he doesn't invent an actual secondary world, but he also doesn't write historical fiction. It's like, dude, just because you put another moon in the sky doesn't make it fantasy.
I mean, to be fair, KJ Parker basically does the same thing too. So.
Sure. Can you get a chance to interview Simon Jimenez? It's funny.
I've reached out earlier this year, and then also Matt reached out.
I wrote because Jimenez is a trad author, and because he's not online really, like he's not on Twitter, he's not on any of the things where you could just write to him directly. You have to write to his publicist at his publisher, which is basically a gatekeeper. And some publishers deal with this really well. Like I've had 2 authors who I said to the author, "Hey, you know, I've started your series. I'm really interested in doing reviews. Could you send me your books?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure. Write my publisher," and they'll send them. And they did, and no big deal. Whereas Jimenez's publisher, who I can't see from here,
Del Rey.
Evie has contacted them, got no answer. I contacted them a week or 10 days ago, got no answer so far. We'll see. I wanted because of the read along, the reread along in January, I wanted to organize sort of as a surprise for Evie and Dan that the 3 of us do an interview with Simon Jimenez.
Oh, that'd be nice.
But it sounds
Spoiler
from
alert.
Evie's experience like that's not going to happen.
What the read along in January, is that starting reading in January 1st, and then
I think
You
so.
read it, I'm assuming
Or-
it's you read at your own pace.
Read at
Like
your own
read
pace.
it in
Okay.
January.
Yeah. GGK read along in January. I'm being so cautious now with committing to anything. My TBR plan is I'm going to read whatever the fuck I want when I want to. That's it. That's it. And I'm very cautiously keeping in mind that there is a Spear reread along in January, and I'll probably join it, but I'm not making any promises. But yeah, as Sarantine Mosaic is actually, it's on my list. It's on my list. We really need another bookcase. Who's we?
I mean, collectively, royal we maybe.
All of us.
Yeah.
Or Bex is a queen, so it's the royal we. Maybe. Oops. Eros is here. GGK, one of
Beyond this dark. GGK. Okay.
Beyond this dark
That's-
house. I've never
Well,
even heard of it.
That's
This
poems.
is the poetry collection that
Ah,
we're
Okay,
referring to.
okay, right.
nice.
I
So
saw
is
that.
it-
I'm like, oh! It's within reach.
I've
I
got
got
it.
so excited.
The cover depicts, I think he's talking about spear cuts through water, depicts the meaning of the English title, but the French title has nothing to do with the spear cutting through water.
It does have it does refer to what happens, like the world in the book.
Okay.
So the land without the moon.
So if you, okay, so that's funny. If you, like if you look at the English one, the title is The Spear Cuts Through Water, and there's no spear, there's no water on the cover. And if you look at the French one, it's Land Without the Moon, and there's no moon on the cover. And there is a spear with water, which is, I don't know, it's very weird. Hello, Cat. Chadia's here as well. City of
dare you,
Dragons.
How dare
Put
you?
it off another day. I really don't understand the Rainwild's hate. Like, yes, Rainwild's is the worst sub-series in the realm of the Odlings, but that's like saying,
That's debatable.
in my opinion, yeah, like,
Tawny Man is my least favorite of the sub-series.
okay, I'm rereading Tony Man right now. I've read the first two, and it's slow. Yes, I will absolutely agree to that. It doesn't compare to Live Ships at all, but it's maybe I'm just enjoying being back with Fitz and the Fool again. But like saying that it's the worst sub-series of the realm of the Outerlings
It's still 5 stars.
is like, it's still 5 stars, but it's maybe like 4.9 stars, and the other ones are 5.2s, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eros. Yeah, I think it's a healthy plan. This time last year, I was super excited to join, I don't know how many read-alongs and get certain things read in a certain time in January and do all sorts of videos with all sorts of people, and it was too much. And I ended up bailing on most of those read-alongs and not fulfilling all sorts of things that I'd sort of promised to do. And I just thought, I'm not going to do that anymore. That's dumb.
I can't remember, Jared. Have you read any Robin Hood yet, or no?
I have only read the first 75 pages of Assassin's Apprentice. That's it.
The fuck?
And there's a reason for that, because I started reading it in tandem when the comic book series was coming out, and I was comparing the comic to the book. And so now I'm waiting for the series to pick up again so I can pick up the book again. I am not going to do that with further novels. So
you'd be waiting a long time, I think.
Yeah, I've been waiting a long time. So I'm as soon as that series finishes out the first book, I'll be eager to get into the rest of them.
Yeah.
Listen, I vaguely know where you live, Jared. If you don't read the series.
Yeah.
I think
year.
kicking Jared's ass would be worth coming over from Europe.
Yeah. Come on over. I'll put you up and you can
kick your ass.
Kick me all you want.
For not reading Realm of the Odlings. Yeah, you really should get into it.
I'll get there.
It's really good. Thornall's here again. Tony Man, yeah, exactly. I'm also kind of wondering. I mean, I'm interested to see how it goes, because for me it's everything's a reread up until the last trilogy, which I haven't read yet. So I'm interested in what I think of Rainwild's this time, but I remember last time I actually really enjoyed it. I didn't think in any way it was bad. Fool's Errand is the best book. Wow. You mean the best book in the whole series, or you just mean it's a really great book? Because the best book in the whole series, I'd say that's a pretty hot take.
Really, really hot take is it's my least favorite book in the series. Except for that one scene. That's the only thing that makes it... I mean, it's still 5 stars, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Except for that one scene.
Yeah, it's like having a least favorite kind of chocolate.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
it's like it's
I mean,
fucking
to be
chocolate.
fair-
Of course, it's good.
White chocolate is horrible, and it's not even chocolate, so it doesn't count.
Yeah,
She's right.
okay. I'll
She's
let you
right.
buy on a technicality there. I mean, I love white chocolate, whether it's actually chocolate or not. But Thornall has a friend who has a question. Yeah, sure, you're asking for a friend. Do you guys know of any new trends in cyberpunk? I thought cyberpunk died like in the 90s.
I am woefully ignorant when it comes to cyberpunk.
Was not my
really
favorite genre.
with a lot of sci-fi.
I read all the cyberpunk back in the, I guess, 80s and 90s, like all of the William Gibson and the Pat Cardigan and all sorts of stuff. But it was a very cyberpunk to me was a really strong period-based trend. It made a lot of sense when the internet wasn't really a thing yet, or was just becoming a thing, you know. And that was what it was all about. I mean, cyberspace, the word cyberspace comes from cyberpunk novels, and that was all of a very particular period, you know. I don't know. I mean, I can't even say I've heard of anybody that I would call a cyberpunk author that's like releasing books now. I don't know.
Is Neil Stephenson still? He's still
Neil Stephenson's still writing a lot, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
call anything he's written in years.
Right,
I mean, since
cyberpunk,
Snow
yeah.
Crash.
Since Snow Crash,
like,
right? Yeah.
Snow Crash was was a parody of cyberpunk. I wouldn't even call it a cyberpunk novel. It was making fun of cyberpunk.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
And then everything else he's written since then is totally not cyberpunk at all.
Right.
Like unrelated. Kat says all the titles blend together. Yes, they do, Kat. I actually almost wanted to make a very short video about the Robin Hobb random name generator. You know, and you'd have Fool and you'd have Assassin in there, and whoops, the fucking camera thing. I'm gonna turn that
Every
off.
week we
It
tell
keeps-
you to turn this off, or at least
keeps
I tell you to
doing it.
turn this off.
Yeah, it's off. Let me see. Is it off? Yeah, it's off. Yeah, and I mean, Assassin's Fool, Fool's Assassin, Fool's Picnic, Assassin's Lunch. It could be anything as long as it's got at least Fool or Assassin in it, or maybe both. Yes, Zin, white chocolate is great. Too bad Rockio isn't here to go on a rant about how cyberpunk is an aesthetic, not a genre. Yeah, whatever. I mean, sure.
Well, to be fair, really there are no genres. It's just a marketing ploy. So
Oh my god! Wow, Evie.
There's
Going on
only
the
fantasy.
warpath.
There's only fantasy. That's all there is.
Uh-huh. I think there are a lot of sci-fi authors that would beg to differ.
It's all made up. It's all fantasy.
well, when you
Same
think
argument with
about it,
steampunk. Steampunk is actually, I think steampunk is actually an aesthetic. It's not a genre at all. But cyberpunk was, at least for a time, I think, a pretty clear genre, and certain people were definitely writing in it. T.R. Napper, Liam, is that an author who is writing cyberpunk? Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
I think so too. Just want to make sure. 36
So here-
Streets by T.R. Napper came out last year, and it's cyberpunk. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Liam just read a big book on cyberpunk on his channel. I remember seeing.
I saw the
Yeah.
thumbnail. I haven't clicked on it yet, but I did see the thumbnail for that.
So here's my take on the difference between sci-fi and fantasy, or the lack thereof. Everything that's sci-fi, or I should say, everything that is sci-fi is fantasy, but not every fantasy is sci-fi. And here's my reason why. Fantasy is set on a different world. What have different worlds? Non-Earth sci-fi. Like, that are set on planets other than the Earth. So you would expect
Dune.
if they are colonized.
Dune is definitely fantasy. Like,
but it's a sci-fi. So like again,
no, but it's fantasy.
all
Dune
sci-fi
has
is
magic.
fantasy, but not, no, all fantasy does not necessarily have to have magic. Like GGK, KJ Parker.
I'm not
they
saying
fucking-
all fantasy. Well, and see, as far as I'm
all
concerned,
sci-fi is fantasy, but not
they
all
write
fantasy is sci-fi. There you go.
GGK and KJ Parker. Most of their books, not all of their books, are not fantasy even. They are thinly veiled historical, right? Like, just like I said, just because you put a second moon in the sky doesn't make it fantasy. But to me, Dune is fantasy because there is fucking magic. Like, the Bene Gesserit cannot be explained with science. Like, yes, there are spaceships and there's travel, although how the spaceships function is kind of hard to explain with science as well. Jerome disagrees with everything because Jerome is Dutch. That's how the Dutch
spaceships it's because of the spice. That's why they want to control everything, because if the spice goes away, then yeah.
I know how it works in the world. I've read it I don't know how many times. But
thank you, Chadia.
It doesn't make any sense
you have my back
scientifically. All sci-fi is fantasy, not all fantasy is sci-fi. Yeah, whatever. Crazy women. I'm not waiting for anything that's on the list. Oh wait, okay, that was a reply for something else. It's all speculative fiction. Yeah, I mean, if you want a category that you can tell someone where they will have no idea what the fuck they're going to read when you give it to them, you can call everything speculative fiction.
Because that also includes horror.
It includes magical realism. I mean, it includes anything where anything even slightly not real
that's correct
happens. So yeah, I don't know. I think before we get in a holy war about genres, we could start a sprint. I actually wanted to do that for, I think, the last 3 pubs. And the conversation was always so good that I was like, actually, there were so many people as well that we never really got to it. But this conversation sucks. So let's start a sprint. No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm going to read this.
I was going to say, what are you guys reading?
Yeah.
Full Ascension, nice.
I am 1 chapter from
Almost
the end.
Yeah.
The fellowship is about to break. Fucking Boromir.
So are you going to go off camera and do like vlog reactions? Because you're still working on the vlog, right?
I am, but I'm not necessarily doing it absolutely in the minute fresh.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had, like, in the last couple of days especially, I had some time yesterday where I was running around town a lot, so I was listening to the Andy Serkis narration instead of reading. And of course, I mean, it might be funny, but me on the U-Bahn taking a train across Berlin, I'm not going to be recording
I mean,
a vlog reaction.
That'd be cool.
What's everyone reading? I don't know why Jerome is shouting.
Yeah,
maybe because he's Dutch.
We gotta put this up close.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this.
I'm reading The Escapement. So cool. It's the 3rd book in the Engineer trilogy.
In the what trilogy?
The Engineer trilogy by KJ Parker.
Oh, okay.
Which, by the way, the font format or whatever, the format of the pages, much different than the other 2 books.
Okay.
The margins are a little bit narrower. Okay. The spacing between the lines is also narrower. And the font is smaller. So even though it's technically 200 pages shorter than the other 2 books, I'm pretty sure it's just about the same.
About the same size, yeah. That is probably a publisher saying, no, we can't make it X hundred pages.
Yeah.
So let's squeeze everything. Let's make all the stuff harder to read.
Yes, Thornell's reading The Bear and the Nightingale. This makes me so happy.
Empire of Silence is so on my list. I really want to start that very soon. Yeah, this was actually funny, Zin. Like, the Andy Serkis narration of Lord of the Rings, he's basically doing the voices of the actors in the movies, which is really weird. You know, so I mean, overall, I really like it. But, yeah. Rogue, Ship of Magic, lucky you. That is such a good trilogy. Damn. Liam's always reading something I've never heard of.
Twilight of the Gods.
The last book comes out, I think, next month, or it's a fairly recent in the last few years.
For a guy who's 17, he sure reads a lot of old stuff. I know he's not 17, but I mean, doesn't like Liam look 17. When Liam is my age, he's going to look 30.
I was going to say, if he's 17,
he is not.
I would be concerned because he has 3 kids.
He has numerous kids already. Yeah, yeah. No.
Although being from the South, like, that's kind of not surprising.
I've been places in America in the South, like up in the mountains, also in West Virginia. Yeah, you could have 3 kids by the time you're 17. Why not? Especially if you're a guy. I mean, it's pretty easy. You could do that in a weekend.
Was asked when I was 19 why I didn't have kids.
By who?
An idiot.
By friends.
Oh, jeez.
By my dad's friends.
Jesus.
Yeah. Anyways, we're going to sprint though, right?
Bex, did I not already tell you to get the fuck off of the Sylvia Plath?
Right, what are you talking about?
Your life has not been a Sylvia Plath kind of thing lately. Read something cheerful. I'm not saying Sylvia Plath is bad, but there's a right time for Sylvia Plath.
It's true.
If only I was 17, Liam. Yeah, you can get fucked. At my age, someone your age saying if only I was 17 makes me laugh.
If only I was 40. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the glory days when I was 45.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's start sprintzing. And let's go until half an hour on the hour.
Top of the hour? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'll put up a banner.
Cool.
Boom. Enjoy.
Cool. Be right back.
Don't forget to mute yourself.
Oh. Well, I guess I'll get some editing done before I do anything.
Hello.
You're a minute early, but okay. Oh, never mind. Now we're good.
Exactly on time.
I will allow it, considering that you showed us Fitz. So
Yes, Fitz just woke up. She didn't want to hang around though. She's probably gone to stand in the kitchen as if that's going to somehow magically make me feed her.
is it around her dinner time though? Right now?
It kind of is, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I should next time we start a sprint, I'll take a minute and go dump some food in her bowl. She has a thing about the kitchen. The only reason the kitchen exists in her mind is to be the place where she gets fed.
I mean, what other use is there?
So if I go in the kitchen, that means she's getting fed. What is vibrating?
Sounds like a fan. Is it Britain?
Do you have something near your
the
microphone,
only fan I have on is above me. It's not making any noise.
Okay.
I can turn it off.
No, it seems to have stopped now.
Oh, that's weird.
Whatever it was.
Why is it always me that has the?
No. I was just asking. Like, is it you, Britain, or
It shouldn't be. I mean, I only have this fan on, right? But it's not really making any noise on my.
No idea.
Well,
I finished Fellowship of the Ring.
You finished it.
Yay!
Yeah, I was in the
we'll
last
see
chapter.
now.
And the last chapter is actually pretty slim. Not much happens. Boromir loses his shit.
You
Frodo
know,
and
the
Sam
huge.
sneak off. That's basically it. Yeah,
The huge.
pretty much. Yeah, I read my favorite line in the whole Lord of the Rings earlier today. It gives me goosebumps every time. I pass the test. I will diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel. Goosebumps.
Very nice.
Yeah, I just love that whole line. I thought they overdid it with the "Love Me in Despair" scene in the movie. It was a bit too over the top, dramatic kind of special effects on Galadriel, but that line is just chef's kiss. So
What'd you
good.
think of Rings of Power, Matt? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I was trying to be very optimistic about it. I'm a designer who used to work in movies, so I can get totally into production design, and it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
There was just like stunning production design, stunning costumes, stunning landscapes, stunning CGI, although there was a bit too much of the CGI sometimes. So I really enjoyed that part of it. But a lot of the story bits, I was like, really? Really? You're going to go with that? Okay. Yeah. All right.
I mean, I only watched an episode and I couldn't do it anymore. I only watched like 2.5. I only watched like 2.5 episodes and I couldn't do it anymore. It was just moved like a snail. I was just like, oh.
Yeah. There were bits that were really slow. There were. I mean, later, certainly, if you watch more of it, there were some pretty good action scenes and stuff. But
yeah, it didn't bother me. I didn't mind the slowness. I just wish the story was a little better done. That's all.
more sensible.
Yeah, more sensible. Yeah.
I need that.
Yeah, there were a bunch of bits.
I thought,
yeah, hey Anita.
especially the reveal of that guy, and I was just like, it didn't. It was weak. It was weak.
Yeah. I mean, it like when I'm watching something and I become aware of the writers. You know, when I'm not watching the story, I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh, the writers are trying to fake us out to make us think that this guy is or isn't Sauron," and you know, and I'm just like, "Yeah, okay, whatever."
Yeah, I've kind of read what happened.
Sauron was very good looking. Yeah, but you're right.
Sauron was very good looking.
The whole production was good looking. It was a beautiful.
It was gorgeous. I mean, like you could almost turn the sound off, you know, and just look at the pictures.
Peter Jackson's sitting there just fuming, and
I don't know if Peter Jackson takes it too personally, and Professor Tolkien is dead. I mean, Peter Jackson has no right to complain. He did the Hobbit movies.
Tolkien probably wouldn't like any of it. He'd probably like, I meant my books as books. You stop molesting my mythology I've made here. I mean, this is a guy who literally hate watched the Disney Snow White movies, so I mean, I don't think he would have liked the films very much.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a snob, that Tolkien.
Trying to find something short to comfort read till tomorrow. It'd have to be really short. I mean, it depends on how fast you read.
Yeah.
I mean,
depending
on your definition of comfort read, John Steinbeck, The Red Pony, if you want to be traumatized.
I was going to say, I don't think Steinbeck wrote anything I would call as comfort.
I don't read Steinbeck for comfort. What are you
No.
talking about?
I just finished The Tombs of Atuin by Le Guin. That was very good. Very good book.
Just started The City of Thieves by David
Oh, nice.
Benioff. The same David Benioff who co-wrote Game of Thrones. It's pretty good so far.
Cool. I mean, I can recommend for short reads, I can recommend the Chronicles of Amber. It's 10 books, but each of the 10 books is about as thick as your finger. They're tiny. They're 100 pages, 120 pages each.
You and Chronicles of Amber brought it up.
It's good.
In our,
it's good.
You brought it up in our podcast we did the other day.
Sure. And I'm
the
Elric. Yeah, the Elric books
Elric,
are
yeah,
also really
yeah.
good. They're tiny and good.
I can attest to Howl's Moving Castle as well. There you
Yep.
go, Jerome.
Yep.
Oh,
House
hello,
Moving
Liam.
Castle.
I just got a clip from him for the thing we're doing. I also got one from Jared over there. Thank you, sir. By the way, this came out pretty good.
Anytime. Thanks for asking.
Okay, this is back when we were talking about Sun Eater.
I haven't read that yet.
Dislike Hadrian. He's fit chivalry in space. Okay. All right. That's interesting. I still want to read it.
I feel like
but...
that's a offense on chivalry, and I'm personally offended.
Sometimes love is prose, Rocky is prose, and then sometimes tired of all the philosophy.
Sir,
Yeah.
but I love philosophy.
Well, then you will probably enjoy it more than Heidi did.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who read Sun Eater, didn't like the first book, but then he went on to read the second one because he liked the hook at the end. I'm like, dude.
Why not?
I'm
Did he like the second one?
No, not really. But I'm just like,
Okay.
dude.
That is basically how it sounds to me every time I've ever talked to a Wheel of Time fan.
Although, are you going to start Wheel of Time after
No.
Jared Henderson's recommendation?
No.
Oh,
No, I am not. Because I was thinking about it for a bit, which provoked a number of discussions. And I had the same experience I have whenever I talk to Wheel of Time fans, is they describe to you a bunch of reasons why I would actually probably hate it and then tell me it's great. And I'm just like, it gets good after book 4. What? You want me to read 4 books to get to the good part, and then you've got a couple of books where
the big
slog
fan of
starts.
Malazan. Okay, so
No, but I always tell people, read Gardens of the Moon. If you hate Gardens of the Moon, you will probably hate Malazan. And a lot of people I know who've read Gardens of the Moon, they've come at it thinking it's going to be difficult and it's blah blah blah. They've got all sorts of ideas. And one of the coolest and most common comments I've heard about Gardens of the Moon is, I have no idea what the fuck's going on and I love it. I'm like, that's Malazan. So I would never tell someone, I mean, yeah, if you really want to get a really good feeling for it, maybe the first 3 books, but I would never recommend to someone who's hesitant about reading Malazan, well, you have to read the first 3 books and then you're allowed to give up. Like, no, fuck that. You know, like, read the first one. If you don't like it, you probably won't like the series. It's pretty representative.
So I liked Gardens of the Moon, but I could not get into Deadhouse Gates.
Why? Okay, that's interesting.
Big shrug.
I mean, Joanna is shocked that I love the Black Company, because I guess it's so like Steven Erikson was so influenced by the Black Company.
He was.
But to be fair, just because someone is influenced by something else, that
doesn't mean that they're the same by any
Yeah.
means.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the Black Company is a lot more straightforward, mostly.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
it's
because
not really that confusing, and it like you know what's going on most of the time.
Yeah, I think because you start off in Croker's perspective, and then
Yeah.
he kind of expands from there. Whereas Erikson is very much like the wide cast of characters, and
Yeah.
I can barely keep track of myself, let alone other characters. So
There are apparently someone I forget the guy's name. He's done a very small number of really good Malazan videos which are animated. I forget. And
Yeah.
one of them is about the characters, and he counted them. There's over 600 named characters in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, just in the 10 books, not including
not including the
the
other ones.
Eslamont stuff and the other Erikson stuff, and you know all of that. Yeah. So,
and some of them have more than one name.
a lot of them have, they have a name and a nickname, and yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Dead House Gates. I mean, that's
Jack, though. That sounds cool.
that is a cool name. Absolutely,
Jack is quite
And
awesome, actually.
Whenever I get to Malazan, whenever that'll be, and I'll get Joanna, I'll get Matt, I'll get Phil, I'll get everybody, like a whole party. of
everybody.
people. Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna have a party when I read Malazan.
Was that the problem for you, Evie? That Dead House Gates? It's like it's almost like a new fantasy novel in a like it's connected, but it's a bit of a tenuous connection.
yeah, so partially that, and partially, I don't know why I didn't have a problem with it in Gardens of the Moon, because he does it kind of. He does the same thing kind of in that, but I felt like. Anyways, so I felt like Erikson, by the time that I was finally connecting with the characters, he would switch to a different character and different like setting, and I'm like, I just started getting my anchorage with this character, and now I have to start over, and it's a brain thing. I have to like readjust and get like reacquainted, and it's just my.
That's fair. That's fair. Brain. Yeah, and I mean, if that's fundamentally a structural thing that you have a problem with, then you probably wouldn't like the Malazan experience, because that doesn't change. Like there's one bit. There's only one bit where he stays with one character for like a quarter of a book.
And apparently the character doesn't show up again at all or something.
No. He becomes actually a very big character who gets kind of his own series, which is set after Malazan Book of the Fallen.
Corbel Brooch?
No, Casa Orlong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Casa is a massive fan favorite. And one of the books starts with Casa, and it's 250 pages or something, and it's only Casa.
It's the only section that has a
hasn't
single
happened anywhere
POV
else.
for a large chunk. Yeah,
exactly. It's usually like chapter by chapter, it's jumping around, or even within chapters sometimes. But Rogue loves Malazan, but not a Black Company fan.
I haven't read either of those yet. So
Black Company's really good. I mean, if you like military fantasy,
that is
Francois.
I am Francois. I am I'm doing a read along with the page doing crew, and it's awesome. And,
I was really tempted, and AP, like after our Lord of the Rings chat yesterday, AP and I continued chatting for a while, and I actually asked him. I was like, because we were talking a lot about subjective quality versus subjective taste versus objective quality.
Yeah.
Like most people don't have the objective thing in their head really at all. They're just like, I like it, and therefore it's good. And like, no, good is a qualitative objective value judgment I liked it is subjective.
But Matt,
And I said to him, like, give me 3 series that you think you liked them, subjectively, you liked them, and objectively, they're really well written. And I think and he said Malazan Book of the Fall. I was like, fuck off, AP. You know that I don't need a recommendation from Malazan, not including Malazan What are 3.
Yeah.
And Wars of Light and Shadow was one of them where he was just like, Jenny Wirtz is definitely an objectively good author.
Yeah.
And he really likes the series. So,
it's outstanding. It's like Malazan level complexity. It's just beautifully written. The prose is so gorgeous.
I've heard that over and over and over again about her and her work.
Yeah, we've been talking with her. It's been great.
What is good? That is the real question. What is good in general? Like, what makes something good?
I'm the wrong person to ask because most of what I do is subjective. AP actually, he said to me last night that he appreciates my review videos because I don't actually present them as reviews. I'm not trying to break down in any kind of objective fashion whether the book's well done or not. I'm purely saying my subjective experience was I loved it because this and this and this and this. And if you're anything like me, maybe you'll love it too. But I'm not trying to be an objective reviewer in any way.
To quote a certain movie, fine, keep your secrets.
I don't have any secrets. I'm serious. Ask AP. I'm not hiding anything. I'm explaining to you that I'm a subjective kind of guy, and I don't have the training to objectively analyze. I can go on objectively about design for hours because I have 30 years experience doing it. And I went to university for design, and I can tell you exactly why the typography sucks and so on and so forth. But
I mean,
not with books.
As my armchair opinion is that the only objectivity is stating facts. So stating facts like this is what the plot is, this is the type of writing style, whatever. But it's the enjoyment and the experience that dictates whether you like it or not. Like, because even like something graphic designs, something that is debatably horrible is still, even though you just said it's objectively bad, like someone might actually like that. Like,
yeah, but those are those are the two things I'm talking about. If someone likes it, that's subjective, and that's fine. You know, that personal taste is personal. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but that doesn't mean it's well designed or well written. You know, like I've seen things that are objectively really poorly designed that people liked. Fine.
Good night, Cot.
It's not a contradiction.
Yeah, some people.
Good night, Cot.
I mean, I was kind of giving you a hard time there, but man, you know, I'm always trying to harass people to go read the Baz Lag books because I read those last year and
they are worth reading.
This is a very underrated series. At least the first 2 books are. I didn't really care much for Iron Council.
I wouldn't say it's underrated. I would say it's a bit forgotten.
What's Baz Lag?
China Mieville, Perdido
okay.
Street Station, and a couple other books.
3 thick boys I have up on top of me. Yeah. Jared, you read Perdido Street Station.
Perdido Street, yeah. Yeah, it was very enjoyable. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
DK Moon, yep. I will agree wholeheartedly with the first half of that sentence.
But that's a good you know, he's making a good point there. He likes something better, even though he's recognizing that something else is better written.
Absolutely. And I mean, for a lot of people, when they're talking about a lot of things, they're confusing subjective taste with objective quality. You know, and they'll say, I liked this, it was good.
Yeah.
But then if you say, okay, why was it good? Not why did you like it, but why was it good? Like, give me an analysis of the quality. They can't do it. And I can't do it for books either. You know, I'm not without a lot of sweat.
I can objectively look at Moby Dick and how well that's written.
Yeah.
But I am totally bored by it. It puts me.
Yeah, I don't like Moby Dick
cannot
either.
read
You
it.
don't like whaling? Come on.
I don't like that much explanation of whaling. It just put me to sleep.
I learned
But
a
it was
lot
very
about
well written.
whales.
Very well
Learned a
written.
hell of a lot about
No.
whales.
You learn a lot, yeah.
I'm curious with all of you guys watch Alan of Ellen's. I'm always baffled by just some of the authors he always complains about, and then he turns around and goes, he probably just does this to get a rise out of people. I don't know, but then he's like, I like Moby Dick, and I'm like, what? Or maybe he doesn't.
I don't think he's read Moby Dick.
Evie, you're friends with him. Has he read Moby Dick?
I don't think he's read Moby Dick.
Oh, well, I've heard him talk about Moby Dick on one of the streams. So
See,
Well, I mean, it's
that
in
is
the zeitgeist at this point, so
that is also completely subjective. Wheel of Time, I felt like someone was poking me in my eyes for 250 pages, and then I had the sense to put it down. Malazan is super fun for me to read. So yeah, all subjective. We disagree.
I like
And
Ron
that's
Payne.
fun.
Incorrect whale facts.
I don't know anything about whale facts,
Yeah,
but I
me
assume that they were like 19th century cutting edge whale facts. And we probably learned a bit about whales since then.
Yeah, Moby Dick's just a weird book.
Is it?
It is.
yeah, it's a guy and a whale on revenge.
There's also like implied homoeroticism in it, and then there's like prophecies. Like like there's one part it's a play. It's bizarre. It's just
Sounds like nothing's wrong with that. Any of that.
hey,
Sounds
nothing's wrong with homoeroticism. Okay, like that's like I read Black Leopard.
Sounds like Book of the New Sun,
Okay.
actually. There's a play in it, and then homoeroticism. I mean, the main character is dressed up in bondage gear almost all the
Oh
time.
jeez.
I mean, not bondage gear, but he's from the Torturers Guild.
Well, he's a torturer,
and he
yeah.
walks around wearing a black mask over his face.
Unrelated, by the way,
naked
Matt. Thank
down to
you.
the waist. Oh, you're welcome.
I got
When are you
that came
starting
later.
it? When are you starting it? Has anyone read A Canticle for Leibowitz?
I know. I've heard of it. I have not read it.
Evie even got the cool cover. See, this is a bit of a disaster, Evie. I ordered my copy of it a couple of years ago, and it was on my shelf, and it looked just like that. And I'd never read it because I'd already read it a couple of times. I just wanted to have a copy on my shelf. So it was brand new. It was on my shelf. And at the last minute, I found out it was a friend of mine's birthday that I work with. And I was like, oh, I want to give him something. What would he like? He would love Canticle for Leibowitz. So I grabbed it off my shelf because it was still basically brand new. And I gave it to him. And recently, when I was talking to you about it, I was like, I need to get myself a copy as well. So in America, I could order that copy with that cover and send it to you. And in Germany, oh my God, the only cover that's available anymore in Germany is horrible. It is so ugly, unbelievable. I want nothing to do with it, but I assume the text is the same, so it's fine.
So this might have opening this up for the first time. This might have bumped this up on the TBR because it says also by Walter M. Miller Jr., St. Leibowitz and the Wild Horsewoman. You had me at Wild Horsewoman.
Yeah, get into it. It's such a good book. I mean, I wouldn't call it cheerful or optimistic necessarily, but it's got some really, really amazing exploration of themes, and it's
what makes you
really interesting structure.
What screams cheerful and optimistic when you look at me, at least reading wise?
Oh, I wasn't saying you won't like it because it's not cheerful and
Perky
optimistic.
Evie.
Yeah, no, I
You
don't.
like-
I don't.
you like
Well, that's
Steinbeck,
disappointing, Liam. Aw.
Finished by
You know.
someone else. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Liam was talking about World of Warcraft earlier, and I was like,
It's also like Canticle is not a book I would say needs a sequel. Like, actually, even I didn't even know there was a sequel, and the idea of a sequel to Canticle for Leibowitz to me seems weird. But sure, why not? I mean, it's one of those books that is structured with huge time jumps. kind of like Foundation. So
is it sci-fi or is it?
it's sci-fi, yeah.
It's sci-fi. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it's basically the sort of through line is these monks. I mean, it's in a way it's sort of a similar concept to Foundation. These monks whose order exists to preserve human knowledge, and then there's an apocalypse. So there's a bit that's before the apocalypse, and then there's after the apocalypse, and then there's way after the apocalypse. It's been a long time since I read it. I really want to read it again. Okay, so he didn't see it finished. Okay.
I just
Well,
started. I'm in the middle of this right now too.
Oh, The Star's My Destination.
What?
That's cool.
I wanted
Yeah.
to read that for a few
Yeah.
years.
It's a trip.
It's a
I'm halfway through.
classic.
It's a trip.
Star's My Destination is very cool. I love the title too.
Yeah.
I like
pretty,
it.
It's actually
It's pretty wild.
another underrated fantasy book that I'm really mad not a lot of people have covered. Black Leopard, Red Wolf. That was a
Never
really
heard of
good
it.
book. Never
By-
heard of it.
By who?
Jerome likes it.
Marlon James.
Okay. Star's My
It's another
Destination.
one I'm-
Yeah.
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 There's also a William Blake title at one point. It was under. Oh, look, Evie has
there
it.
it is.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
read it? Of course
No,
No,
not.
I haven't. I have the first 2 books. I'm waiting for him to release the 3rd book. Whenever that
This is what I
happens.
get for hoping, Matt.
At least she's got it and she knows it, you know. This is my break between other
Nice.
things at the moment.
Nice.
Lone Wolf and
Oh
Cub.
yeah, that's
Love it.
really good. I actually have that same copy.
Classic. Yep. Well, it's the first omnibus. And I also bought this today or yesterday. I finally visited my comic shop.
Oh,
And I
the
got
Authority. Yeah,
Yep.
that was.
Never liked the idea of the Authority.
It was
It
pretty
seems like a
wild.
bad Watchmen take.
It's good for the first trade paperback. After that, it kind of gets.
Yeah, I'm a
Typical.
third of the way through it, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of fun, but I don't think I'm gonna buy anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It's
The
not-
first one should have just stopped and let it stand. It was good as is.
It's not turning me on enough that I need to keep going. Oh, and actually, wait just a sec. I have another comic thing I have to show off.
The artwork's incredible though, so it's
The artwork's gorgeous.
beautiful to look at. Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought Authority was like edgier Watchmen. It didn't really interest me.
It was just yet another version of a Justice League of America gone bad.
So
Maybe I'm just bored with evil
Actually-
superheroes.
I actually have to. The Authority's not evil though. That's
Oh,
the
they're
thing.
not evil. Yeah.
No. Ah,
Ooh,
Oh,
what's
wow.
that?
it's a Prince Valiant
Holy crap! Look at that.
box set
Oh,
with. They do them by. Is it years? Yeah, it's basically years. So they've got. This is actually 3 books. So there's one huge book.
That's Hal Foster, right?
Hal Foster, yeah. And
Yeah.
It's
Really great artist.
large. So this is also what I love about my Hellboy library editions is they're really big. So
Yeah.
the artwork has been printed bigger than it has ever been. So you can really see in detail everything that's gone on.
Yeah.
And
that's
these,
good stuff.
if I collect all of these, it will be a problem because this is a box that is bigger than will fit on any shelf I have. It's really tall. But I've been wanting to catch up on Prince Valiant for a long time. And this is a gorgeous way to do it.
I did read the newer Saga volume 10 before the new one came out.
I've got I actually just picked up the last 5 issues of like the individual issues.
Mhm.
I have a sub and my pull box. I went in yesterday and the guy was like, "Good thing you came in." My pull box was like,
Oh yeah.
pretty
Trade
damn
wait.
thick.
I'm a trade waiter, so
Trade loser. No, I do that with some. I have like one of my best friends, Jason, is he's much cooler than I am, which is not hard. And he always seems to know somehow when a really interesting comic series is about to start. And I'm like, how do you even know? Where do you find out that this is something you want to subscribe to? So every time we go to the comic store together, he always gets something I've never heard of, and I look at it and I'm like, fuck, why am I not getting this? And he just got one that's a Western, which just has gorgeous art. It's so well done. I can't remember the name, unfortunately. Oh,
did you get that Grendel you were telling me about on the podcast the other day?
Hasn't come in yet.
Damn.
Yeah, I asked the guys, it's coming, but I mean, it's basically the Hunter Rose story, which is, I have the omnibus for it up there, but this one's like a larger hardback, signed, numbered, fancy edition. So,
also, Evie, I think you would love Saga.
Saga is super cool.
Saga is great.
Saga is really, really good.
I've tried graphic novels and just visual media like that in the past, and it's got to be something with my brain. It does not put the two and two together of like the visual with the dialogue, and I really, really struggle.
I have a comic that you absolutely must read, Evie, because of what you just described. It's called Understanding Comics.
Yep, Scott McCloud. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a comic or graphic novel, which explains how comics work. And it may not change the way you feel about reading comics at all, but it does explain it in a really interesting way. And it's explaining how comics work as a comic.
Yeah, and it's very entertaining at the same time. Yeah,
it's so good.
I
have no doubt over the years bought 15 copies of that, because every time I work in a design team, like I've been like the leader of a design team for different design teams for the last like 20 years. So every time I come into a new design team, I'm like, okay, who's read Understanding Comics? And if they haven't, I buy everybody a copy. So
my brother's a graphic designer,
so good.
And he said the same thing when I gave it to him. He's like, I need to use this to show people my work.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing book. Unfortunately, Scott McCloud never did anything else interesting.
He did
I've seen some of his other stuff and I was just like, he's done other things, but
I can't remember the name of it. Because he did that Zot book, Zot graphic novel.
That's right. Zot was actually cool. That's right. I forgot it was him.
And then he did another one after that at some point, but I can't remember the name of it right now. And that was pretty good as well.
Asa, Rat Queens. Good mention. Rat Queens is awesome. It's basically a D&D party of women, of only women, and they are badasses. Yeah, there are 2 sequels to Understanding Comics, and that's kind of what I meant. Like, sorry, Scott, but that awesome book did not need a sequel. And and the Making Comics is it's all right.
It's all right. Yeah.
And Reinventing Comics is garbage. It's like I read it, and I work in the internet, and all the stuff he was talking about, I was like,
it's kind of irrelevant now.
It's completely irrelevant. So those were pretty weak.
Yeah,
but the Understanding Comics changed the way I think about a lot of things.
It does.
It's really, really good.
I can't find my copy at the moment for whatever reason. So
it's very good. Definitely worth reading.
I used it for a class that I was taking. I can't.
Cool. Shall we start another sprint? I don't know what I'm going to read, but I'll go look for something. Yeah.
You know, if you read Spirit Cuts Through Water.
I'm going to reread it in January with everybody who's rereading.
I know.
I specifically bought a paperback recently for that reason.
Lone Wolf and Cub. There you go.
I might Lone Wolf and Cub it a
bit.
Also,
actually, Vanished Birds.
Yeah, but I think actually for the in between things, I'm sticking to Elric and Amber for now. So I'll read like one Amber or one Elric, and then I'll move on to. Oh, that's also I love his. I have so many Norse mythology books.
Yeah,
and
Jerome just asked about it. So.
Gorgeous. Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Has
anyone read? Yes, I have it on my shelf.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's good.
Did
I
you
have
read
not
the
read Norse
Did you read the
mythology.
comic book adaptation, Matt?
I did not. I think you mentioned that last pub, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh,
So good.
that sounds really good."
P. Craig Russell had his he adapts it. So good.
Okay,
Oh,
nice. Okay,
That's gonna
wait a
drive me
sec.
crazy for the rest of the day.
Pronounced like
Author?
the AU in, or I assume that's AU in author, or the O in German Oma.
So Asa.
So it's Osa,
awesome. Awesome. Okay. Awesome.
Alsa, Osa, something like that. Yeah, Norse mythology is definitely good. Daniel is going to give Amber another try. Read the first book. Yeah, it's a weird one to get into. I mean, since the books are only like 110, 120 pages, I feel justified in saying with that one, read the first 2 books. You know, and because the first one is weird because the main character, it's first person narrative. The main character, Corwin, has amnesia. The book starts with him not knowing who he is or where he is or how he got there. And it takes a while for him to get out of that and to get into the actual stuff that's going on. You know, it's obviously a conceit that the author uses to introduce us to a world we don't know. So we know as little as the main character knows at the beginning. But yeah, I would say try the first 2 books. May not be for you. It's an older style. It's Zelazny, whose writing style is pretty unique anyway. It's first person, which a lot of people don't like. Try it out. But it is one of the most influential fantasy series of all time after Lord of the Rings. George R.R. Martin has said that Zelazny was his favorite author. Neil Gaiman has named Lord of Light by Zelazny and Amber as 2 of his most influential series or books.
If I remember
ever.
right, he thanked Zelazny in American Gods. If I remember right.
Would not surprise me. I mean, Zelazny is tragically kind of forgotten now. Not that many people seem to know anything about him anymore, but he wrote a lot of really good stuff. He was up against, or actually, I need to look it up and make sure I get it right, but one of his books won the Hugo against Dune. Right? So
I really
everybody
like Dune though,
still,
so
yeah, well, we knew that there was something wrong with you. Now we know what it is. Don't like Dune. How can you not like Dune?
what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say?
Damn.
I do want to read Zelazny though at some point.
All right.
Liked
so you
Amber
all
more
wanna
than
read?
Elric. Anyway, yeah, let's do a sprint. I'll put
Or
up
me and Matt fight.
Ben Air.
You want to go to
Let's
15?
say 10 past.
Okay. 10.
Might get a drink before I read, so this works out.
All right. Enjoy your reading.
It's gonna drive me fucking crazy. Where's Rian? Where's Connor?
You're not on mute.
Hello.
There you go, Matt.
Ooh. Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I will have to. You're muted, Britain. Yeah.
Oh, I found my copy. So
Congratulations. I will have to tell the guys at Black Dog, which is my comic shop, to get that for me.
Yeah, it's
the
really
Norse
cool.
mythology.
There's even a little bit of Mignola does a little bit stuff in here too.
Ooh, he's my favorite.
Yeah.
yes, I know you love
Love
Mignola.
Mignola. Mignola is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
He manages to do so much with so little.
Yep.
Frank
Masters.
Miller tried to go in that direction.
Yeah.
But Frank Miller's style doesn't work in that
Oh,
way.
you mean when he draws like a roided out Jack Kirby? You mean? That's what I describe his style as.
When he draws, I mean, when he did like Sin City and a lot of what he's done since then, he's just been using these huge black areas and all of that. But his style is explicit; it's not suggestive.
Yeah, Mignola is the master of blacks. He's
Yeah, I mean, he can make a whole page black, and there's one little bit somewhere, and you're like, I get it. I totally can see what's going on. But yeah,
I noticed your copy of Lone Wolf and Cub. Mine's tiny compared to yours.
Mine's like, pretty. Oh wow, okay, yeah. This is
like literally fits in my hand.
Yeah, I assume that this one just then has more issues included in it.
I think so, because these came out back in what was this?
These are still current. Like you can get these still. They're still in
yeah, this was back in these were back in 2000.
Right, okay. Yeah, this one has I would say a bit over 10 issues in it. So it's a little chunkier. No, Joe, it's how you use it. Exactly.
That's right,
Joe. That's what guys.
Joe. I'm glad you're a man of good taste.
that's what guys with small copies of Lone Wolf and Cub say.
No, I started reading my Lone Wolf and Cub copy, the omnibus version, and it was 2020, so that was kind of my big slump / I was really depressed year, so I didn't get the chance to get through it.
Yeah. Ron's got a bunch of old Lone Wolf and Cubs. Yeah, see, this is actually me going back to Lone Wolf and Cub because I also read it in much thinner editions.
I remember
back in the 90s as well. Yeah. Yeah, and they've been reformatted, which is weird if you've gotten used to reading manga. Like it reads like an English book. This is the front cover, and it starts in the front, and it reads left to right, top to bottom. And you don't have to get used to the strange, for us, flow of manga. I kind of stalled on Vinland Saga. I got 5, I think, of the hardbacks through Vinland Saga, and then I was kind of like, I don't know. I'm not really that excited about it somehow. I have manga opinions.
What are your manga opinions, Matt?
Well, it's not even really opinions. It's more I just have a problem with manga because there's a lot of, I think, really basic cultural reference Japanese stuff in there. And I'm not Japanese. So there's a lot of it that just sits really poorly with me, like the over-the-top facial expressions and the dumb jokes, and just you have a serious story like Vinland Saga, and then you've got a character that is basically a superhero and like a comic relief superhero kind of. I don't know.
Have you read Naoki Urasawa?
No.
I think you would like him. He definitely is more palatable for a Western audience.
Yeah. Thornall, I've read Lone Wolf and Cub. I have not read Vagabond, so it's hard for me to compare. The thing to know about Lone Wolf and Cub is it's not really a story.
Yeah, it's a bunch of stories, isn't it?
It's not even really a bunch of stories. It's just a bunch of short episodes. Lone Wolf and Cub, he's a Ronin who wanders around with his baby in a baby carriage, and he hires himself out as an assassin. And basically each 10 pages is a story of him assassinating someone.
Yeah, it gets more into a regular story in the later volumes.
Yeah. Yeah, but in like the first 3 or 4 of these,
first 3 or 4, yeah, it's
like,
episodic. Yeah,
they're all episodic, and there isn't much through line, and there are no other characters really. Like each episode has a couple of characters. By the end, they're usually dead. It's
yeah, but towards the end, it becomes this epic confrontation between him and another guy.
The baby Thornall is not the assassin. The Ronin is the assassin. He just has a baby with him. Although he does use the baby as bait quite often. Or puts the baby in certain situations to confuse the people he's meant to kill, and then he kills them.
Yeah, he is a badass baby.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about Dainobu, his kid, is he's just totally chill through all of it, no matter what happens.
Daigoro.
Daigoro, that's right. Yeah, not Dainobu. Joe, fantastic movies. I didn't know there were movies of Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah, there's they call them the
on HBO Max.
The baby cart assassin movies or something like that.
Baby cart assassin. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Shogun Assassin. That's what it is. The first one is Shogun Assassin. It was made in Japan.
Okay. Why would you not just call it Lone Wolf and Cub?
Lost in translation. I don't know.
Such a good name.
I know.
And then you rename it to something that's boring. Frank Miller did the cover.
Yeah, he's a huge fan.
Yeah, and it's ugly as hell.
Actually, I love it. But yeah, to each his own.
Frank Miller's interesting. Like, he's not terrible as an artist, but as he kind of...
His earlier work is great.
Yeah.
His earlier work is very good. His later work is... Like I said, roided out Kirby, as I like.
I mean, this is Frank Miller in the late '80s or early '90s. So it was before
same picture.
Yeah, exactly. It was well before Sin City and all of that.
Yeah, he was really good.
Oh no, I even think like Dark Knight Returns has ugly artwork.
His Daredevil stuff was fantastic. Really,
I will agree on that.
Yeah, I've got his Daredevil up there, the big hardback omnibus. He's done some gorgeous stuff. Yeah, I agree with Ron. Love those covers. 6 films, fantastic examples of early 70s exploitation, blood spurting 50 foot in the air. Okay.
Yeah, the blood splurting is really overdone. It's great.
Ron says the baby does take a job in one of them. See, when I was reading them back in the 90s, I don't remember exactly how far I got, but I know I didn't read all of them, and I don't think I got up to where it really starts picking up as a sort of an ongoing story kind of thing. Sienkiewicz did covers for later issues. Okay. Yeah, I look forward to those. I've got number 2 and 3 over here in Germany. Getting these in English is not super easy. So I can order them, but they're going to take a while. I ordered them a week ago, and they won't be here for another week or 2 because I think they're coming from America or something. We'll see.
If you want to try a real trip, Ronin from Frank Miller is like Moebius and Lone Wolf and Cub's Unholy Abomination. Is a good way to this. Proto Samurai Jack, if you want to go to those terms.
Okay. Lots of people keep telling me I should read Berserk.
I'm curious what you would think of Berserk.
Yeah.
That one is
I mean, I'm totally fine with all sorts of things that turn up in manga. and like, you know, ultra violence and dark and gritty and all of that, I have no problem with. It's just the over the top emotional stuff and the over the top comedy stuff that really puts me off, especially because it's so often inserted in the middle of an otherwise totally serious story. Like Vinland Saga is a pretty serious story about Vikings and revenge. And then there's a couple of characters who are cartoons, like over the top ridiculous cartoons. And every time I bump into one of those characters, I'm just like, you just threw me out of the story. I don't get it. Joe read Berserk. Would you say that, Joe, that Berserk has or does not have those kinds of things that I was just describing?
There's a lot of graphic violence and
Good question.
Yeah, but that's not what I was talking about, Britton. I was just saying I have no problem with that. It's the over the top emotional stuff, over the top facial expressions, over the top ridiculous cartoony
not
stuff.
So much in Berserk or Naoki Urasawa, as I mentioned before. I think you would like Urasawa. He's definitely more grounded. His art style is definitely more grounded. Also, his monster takes place in Germany, so you might get a kick out of that.
Yeah. Berserk has a little of those weird faces and humor, but it's rare, like a couple of panels in every volume. Yeah, I can ignore.
One of my issues with manga, why the hell does everyone look like they're 12?
Vagabond. Yeah, I mean, that's just... I mean, again, that's one of the reasons I like Lone Wolf and Cub, because that's not the case.
Well, yeah.
The way everybody is drawn in Lone Wolf and Cub is it's a comic, but it's pretty realistic looking. Like they're sticking to a feeling of this is sort of real, you know. So I quite like that. But Liam agrees. Yeah, a friend was telling me on the weekend. Actually, we were talking about exactly this because I was telling them that I'm reading Lone Wolf and Cub. And he said, after I said I don't like all of those things, he said I might like Attack on Titan. Because he said, anyway, it doesn't have much of those kind of things. Berserk, the characters do look like adults. It's also very westernized styling, armor and weapons and so on. Okay, yeah.
The only kind of silly character in that is the elf. Which is like this little not really an elf. He's kind of like a pixie,
right?
You know. Aside from that, it's pretty
okay.
You could read it and have a good time with it. Maybe not. Probably be really disturbed.
How is everyone's reading going? I read, I don't know, 3 of these or 4 of these extremely short stories of Lone Wolf and Cub, and a bunch of people got killed. Surprise, surprise.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. He fucking killed him.
Oh, I read 26 pages of The Escapement up to chapter 5. So, of 18.
What is the Escapement?
It's the 3rd book in the Engineer trilogy by K.J. Parker. So
what's the Engineer trilogy by K.J. Parker?
It's really hard to... It's going to sound so boring, but...
I read and loved Stoner.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
You can't describe Stoner as an interesting in any way that makes it sound interesting.
I actually saw that at my local bookshop the other day, and it made me think of you guys. So there you go.
Anyway,
anyone and everyone should read Stoner.
Everyone should read Stoner, no question.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I can't describe it to you in a way that makes you probably want to read it. You know.
Yeah, so for the Engineer trilogy, one thing that you have to know about KJ Parker is he basically takes a physical thing and he builds a story around it. So in this case, as it's called the Engineer trilogy, it's about engineering. And yes. So, but it's also a revenge tale. So the catalyst of the story is that there are multiple perspectives, but one of the main characters is named Ziani, and he's from this area that literally they're basically the factory, the what do you call it? The manufacturers of the entire known world that they have. So they're the factory workers. They're the ones that build all the machinery and the carts, and they just manufacture everything. They have factories and everything.
Right.
He builds something out of that is out of specification, so he is reported to the guilds, which is the ruling class essentially,
Right.
as an abominator because he did something out of specification.
Okay.
And he winds up getting away. He was sentenced to death, but he winds up escaping, and he goes into exile into his other territories. And he's such a fascinating character. He manipulates all these other characters subtly and not so subtly to basically start a war with his home country. And it's just so good. It's so slow moving, but it's so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
I'm
Sounds
trying
right.
not to tell spoilers, Anitha.
Sure.
It's really hard without saying anything. Like, it's really hard to explain, or at least it's really hard for me to explain.
All right.
These
K2U3
great.
read 2 Advent of Winter stories. Who has Advent of Winter?
I do not.
I didn't do the Kickstarter, unfortunately.
For anybody who
too late
doesn't
on
know, Advent of Winter was a Kickstartered project by Bookish Books with a whole bunch of self-pub authors, and each of them did like a short story, and it's coming out like an Advents calendar. So every day in December you get one story, and then at the end there's a hardback that will be delivered sometime in January. So far it's been all right. I've only read a couple of them. I'm not up to date. I should be on the 8th or 9th already. But speaking of authors who are in Advent of Winter.
Oh no, she's been
Tori
summoned.
Tori was summoned by us mentioning something that she published in. Hi,
I'm
Tori.
gonna read Phase next year because I freaking love werewolves. I want to see what.
Well, it's all about werewolves, so it's got at least that going for it. I otherwise don't know. I have it on my shelf because I wanted Tori to have my money, but I haven't read it yet. Daniel got it. Don't know if anyone. Okay, Anita's also. She backed it, but didn't actually get into it yet.
Liam, did you write in this thing?
Yeah, short stories are where it's at. I'm on your wavelength, Liam. I had a period before my long YouTube break, shortly before it, like May sometime, I think, where I was like, actually, it would be kind of useful in a way to have a bunch of short stories, so that when I finish a book and I don't want to immediately dive into another chunky book, I can just read a short story or two.
Yeah, I just picked up.
I bought 4
nice.
or 5 collections. Tales Before Tolkien. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Nice.
Liam,
And they're all things that were published before Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, and they're all short stories in here.
Okay.
Is there Robert E. Howard in there at least?
No, these are stuff that would be inspiring to like the Lord of the Rings to Tolkien himself.
Yeah,
Lord
I haven't-
Dunsany and those kinds of things.
I haven't read any. I need to get back to this anthology, but it's got a Robin Hobb / Megan Lindholm book story in it that's really good.
Which is it? Is it a Robin Hobb story? Or is it a Megan Lindholm story?
Megan Lindholm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question, Ron, the KJ Parker book that I would recommend, even though Devices and Desires, like, depending upon how the escapement goes, the Engineer trilogy could be one of my favorite, like, series of all time, let alone my favorite KJ Parker works. But individually, Devices and Desires is single-handedly my favorite KJ Parker novel so far. But as a standalone, because Alan would be mad if I didn't say this, The Folding Knife.
Right, I've heard of that one.
But if you like shorter fiction, I would recommend Academic Exercises as well. But unless you want to pay a crap ton of money for a physical copy, it's only available on ebook at least in the US. So.
I got, when I was just thinking it would be good to have a bunch of short stories, I got The New Voices of Fantasy.
Hey, Peter S. Beagle.
Cool.
Edited by, but it's got a whole bunch of authors I've never heard of in it. I'm trying to think. Have I ever heard of any of them? No, I've never heard of any of them. Alyssa Wong, Brooke Bolander, Sophia Samatar, Max Gladstone, Usman T. Malik. I have heard of him, actually.
I've heard
of the
Max
Time War
Gladstone,
book he
Alyssa
did.
Wong.
Maria Davana Headley, etc. It's a long list. But
so Maria Headley, she did a translation of Beowulf.
Oh, okay.
Recently.
All right.
And she starts it off like it's a very modern translation in that like it starts off with yo or bro or something like that. It's like that was the biggest thing about it.
Liam just answered it in the comments. It's the
Bro-Wolf.
Thank you, Liam. There you go.
Bro Beowulf. Wow. Okay.
Joe, I'm hoping to get to the Scavenger trilogy next year, but I know Alan wants us, and by us I mean me and Anitha and potentially Pete, to read the Fencer trilogy next.
And I got this one, which is actually a really old, not really old. I mean, not as old as me, but let me see when it was published. I actually only got it for one story. It was published in 2010, so it's not that old. But I got it for Stephen Erickson's Malazan short story called Goats of Glory. That's really the only reason I bought it. But it's not. I've read it, and it's actually pretty hardcore. But it also kind of comedy. I mean, like the Beauchelin and Corbel Broach stories are pretty creepy, horrific.
But they're funny as hell.
But they're super funny.
Yeah.
But this one is very cool because it's got Stephen Erickson, Glenn Cook, Gene Wolfe, C.J. Cherry, K.J. Parker, Garth Nix, Michael Moorcock. The K.J. Parker is a Rich Full Week. It's called.
That is in. Is that in Academic Exercises or? I think it's in Academic Exercises actually.
Scott Lynch, Robert Silverberg, Kenneth Lee, Joe Abercrombie. It's got a whole bunch of quite well-known authors. It's called Swords and Dark Magic. I actually had to get it from Abe Books because I think it's out of print. It was hard to find. It was in Amazon's catalog, but they didn't have it. Like you couldn't
check that out. You
couldn't actually order it.
Oh, really?
But I wanted to be as Malazan completist as I could, so I had to have Goats of Glory, especially because it's called Goats of Glory. So
yeah, I gotta get it there somehow.
Malazan humor. Yes, it is Swords and Dark Magic, Liam. Cudgel the Clever is in Michael Shea's story. That's interesting. Cudgel the Clever is a Jack Vance character. Shea? Where's Shea? Okay, yeah. Hugh the Tint Master. Michael Shea. Yeah, it's got a Scott Lynch story in it, which I'm not even sure is in the world of the Gentleman Bastards or if it's a totally different thing. I haven't read all of them yet, but there's a lot of good-looking short stories in there. Really nice. And I got The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu, which I've read all of now because it's just fucking amazing. So good. Ron has read the Nix story. I've been meaning to read some Nix, but because he's Australian and really for no other reason. But I keep hearing he's basically YA-ish.
I love Thurnall's comment.
Yes. Not enough to have Dick in your library. You also need more cock. Yeah, it's a great collection, Liam. Absolutely. I don't know about the other ones. Like this one has the only person on the cover I've heard of is Elizabeth Bear. but it says and many more. Let me see if there are. It's just one of those yearly collections, and they can be a bit hit or miss. One of the author's first name is PH, and it's not like P.H. It's F. I guess. I don't know. P.H. Lee, Elizabeth Bear. Man, I've never heard of any of these other ones except Sophia Samatar, and I've only heard of her because she's on the first book I showed. Anyway, so I've got some short stories lined up.
You know, I'm always hesitant to try anthologies because it's kind of like flipping a coin. You know, you don't know which ones are going to be good or bad.
That's the point. I mean, that's the risk you take with an anthology. But an anthology that I would highly recommend, albeit it is not sci-fi or fantasy, it's horror, is Never Whistle at Night, an anthology of dark fiction by indigenous authors.
Okay. Never Whistle.
I do have a Lovecraft one up here. Let me go grab it real quick.
Nobody's ever really speaks about Donaldson's short stories, but
I've never read any.
They're
Donaldson.
fantastic. They
Okay.
are fantastic. Really are.
Okay. I mean, I've read Thomas Covenant a couple of times.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I didn't know that Elizabeth Bear is Scott Lynch's wife.
Indeed, she is.
Huh.
Yeah, and an author herself.
I didn't know that.
More prolific author than he is. She's written a lot more than he has. Paper Menagerie is excellent. It is so good.
The Hidden Girl is amazing as well. Don't listen to anyone that tells you it's subpar compared.
What is The Hidden Girl?
It's the other Kim Liu story collection.
It's also a short story collection.
Yep.
I will open Amazon right now.
It is very sci-fi.
I'll have to get into that.
That's
heavily
fine.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
Because Paper Menagerie is mostly sci-fi, honestly. Not completely, but most of it I would call sci-fi, and then some of it is kind of magical realism-ish, and not much of it is what I would really call fantasy.
Yeah. So normally I'm not one that reads like forewords or introductions to collections or works or anything, but I would highly recommend reading Kin Liu's forward to The Hidden Girl. It really sets your expectations wonderfully.
Okay.
Bye, Liam.
Oh, dang it, Liam. I was going to have you back up here on this book I was going to show off.
But I read all forwards.
I'll
read them.
From now on, I will certainly always read the forward, because when I got a new edition, like when Philip and I were doing our Book of the New Sun read together, the new edition I got had a foreword in it written by Ada Palmer. And I read that foreword, and just based on how she was talking about Gene Wolfe and writing and all of that, I was like, who is this? And I looked her up and I read her science fiction series, and it is probably my number 2 science fiction I've ever read now. I'd say maybe number 3, but it's called Terra Ignota. Jeroen and I have talked about it a fair bit. It's really good. It's really, really good.
I am always hesitant to read introductions or forewords of works that I haven't read before, especially if they're not by the author. Like, specifically if they're not they're written not by the author. Because I've gotten spoiled once, and I'm like, I'm never.
Oh.
I got burned once, never doing it again. But
yeah, but you can read the foreword / introduction after you read the book.
Yeah, true.
Thornall,
by the time I'm done, I always forget. So
first of all, Thornall, what country are you in? And second of all, magical realism is a different thing from fantasy. It's not just a posh way to avoid saying you read fantasy. It is a different thing.
Yep.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez is not fantasy. You would not put him next to Tolkien ever.
More slipstream.
What?
It's more slipstream. Kind of surreal. It's kind of a subgenre of fantasy sci-fi. It's It's kind of more like meant to be like surreal about the senses. Like that's kind of how I think of magical realism.
Magical realism, I mean, I don't know if there's like any kind of official definition, but the way I think of it is magical realism does not take place in a secondary world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like fantasy almost always does take place in a secondary world. Not always, Dresden Files, etc. But it almost always is in a secondary world, and magical realism is never in a secondary world. It's
Also,
our
magical
world
realism,
with weird things going on.
yeah, and in magical realism, as opposed to what it's called, it's not about a magic system. It's about the magic is just
In the world.
It's like background stuff, basically.
Yeah, there's no one casting fireballs.
Hey, Matt.
There are no spells in magical realism.
Hey, Matt, can I ask you something?
Romania, you can.
Have you read The Wizard Knight from Gene Wolfe? I know you said you've liked Wolfe.
I DNF'd it.
You
many years
DNF'd
ago.
it?
Yeah, when it came out as a big Book of the New Sun fan, he hadn't published anything in a long time, and then Wizard Knight came out, and I think the first one is Wizard, and I grabbed Wizard, and I was like, oh, whoa, wow, I'm really not getting into this, and I didn't read Knight.
Well, I was thinking about getting it because I saw the new tour Omni they put together, and the cover on that is just so good.
Yeah. Buy a print from the artist. Like, if all you want is the cover, buy a print from the artist. I don't buy a book because it's got an awesome cover ever.
Also, it also sounded neat.
Yeah, no,
I wanted to try something from Gene Wolfe that wasn't Cross.
It sounds like something I should like. You know, I mean, I would say if you're going to read Gene Wolfe, you should read Book of the New Sun, because that's like the Gene Wolfe, and it's genius.
Daniel, those are good. Those are really good too. What he said there. The couple of novellas by Donaldson are very good.
Okay, yeah. The only thing I ever read by him was Thomas Covenant.
Yeah. His short stories really show his range. He branches out into a lot of stuff. It's really, really great.
Speaking of Lord Fowl's Bane, I got an email from Easton Press this morning saying that they are doing editions of Lord Fowl's Bane.
Easton Press is doing, like, people still read Thomas Covenant? Apparently. I thought it was one of those old, mostly forgotten series. Yes, Tori, I would also call some of the things that Neil Gaiman has written, and I would call them, like, Ocean at the End of the Lane is definitely magical realism. I would say. But,
so, sorry, I saw Tori's latest comment about don't start with Fifth Heather Cerberus.
I have a buddy who loves that.
There's Latro in the Mist.
Latro in the Mist is actually pretty damn cool.
Just the premise of it sounds so cool.
It's really interesting. Like, if you've ever seen Memento, the movie.
Yeah.
Memento is basically Latro in the Mist, just not set in ancient Greece. You know, like it's a soldier who forgets everything every day, basically.
I read The Land Across from Wolfe and did not like it. I just had to put it down.
Yeah. Yeah, Latro is not a I mean, it's easier. It's easier certainly than Book of the New Sun. And yes, Memento is an awesome movie. I love Memento. Not only because it has an Australian actor in it.
All right. I am going to have to drop.
All right.
So
it is also getting late here. I think this is when Britain gets back. We won't quit while he's gone, but that would be rude.
Well, then I'll wait.
But yeah, I think it's also, I mean, it's almost midnight here. So I think that's a reasonable time to go to bed.
I can't believe how dark it has gotten so early here, Evie. It was like,
did you get a lot of rain where you're at?
Yeah, it was like dark at 4:15. It was like pitch black.
The rainstorms are not helping. So
it's basically the same here as well. I mean, latest at 5, everything's completely black outside. Yeah. Francois, I've also been thinking about rereading Thomas Covenant. It's been a really long time. So let's talk sometime next year if you want to read it together. Anyway, this has been, as always, a blast. Thanks for joining me, you three. Thanks for joining everybody in the comments.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. Mark your calendars, or unmark your calendars more accurately. I am out of town next weekend, so I will not be doing the pub on Sunday. I'm
Shameless
gone from...
plug for Raf's interview with Nicola Griffith. I read Spear, and it's really fucking good.
I ordered it already after our discussion last time, and by force alone. I mean, an Arthur, even if it's a deconstruction, an Arthur version, I probably have to read it. So,
I'm having a discussion with Jimmy and Amanda, if Jimmy is feeling good, because he's been sick for a while. Perdido Street Station on my channel next week. I've been planning for it for months, and I'm really looking forward to it because I love that book.
Cool. When?
Nice.
Next Friday.
Okay, I will miss it, unfortunately, but I'll watch it afterwards.
Jared, what do you got? What do you got coming up? Other than your 1-year BookTube anniversary today. Yay!
Today, yes. Cheers.
Congrats, Jared.
What have I got coming up? I'm doing a continual read along of the sci-fi masterwork collections with the folks at Page Chewing, and also the read along of the Wars of Light and Shadow. So those are ongoing projects, and I'm probably going to read along with the Spirit Cuts Through Water as well.
Yeah,
I haven't read it yet, so I'm excited for that.
You got to read Spear. It's so good. It's so unique. Yep. Also, it's good to know that there are other people in Europe. I usually feel like I'm a little bit alone over here generally, but my channel is the right channel for you, because if I want to schedule anything live, because almost everybody other than me is in the US, I have to schedule it in the evening, usually on weekends. Otherwise, it's pretty difficult to make it happen. Yeah, it's pet time quickly. I'll disturb Fitz. She's sleeping in the corner of my desk. Oh, she hates me.
My cat didn't come in here.
Girl.
Isn't she?
Yeah,
Has she been?
Totally pissed off.
We can wrap up, and I'll ask.
I can't lift mine up.
No, I almost can't lift her up anymore. I mean, she's going to end up being 8 kilos, which is pretty chunky for a cat, and that's like a fit, not overweight Maine Coon, fully grown female. So, yeah, I got to make sure I'm careful to not feed her too much so that she doesn't actually end up overweight. Otherwise, she could be 10 easily. Anyway,
all right.
Thanks everybody, and I will see you not next Sunday, but the Sunday after.
Very good.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Have a good week.